Rhett, what do you think that Frank's home looks like? Where does he live?
Frank's apartment. It's an apartment, not a house.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah. No, that makes.
I mean, I guess in
makes
the
sense.
city too, there's not a lot of like houses.
Not a lot, no.
Only
the ones that are there have fight clubs in their basement.
Yeah, it's I would say it's in a disheveled part of town. However, we want to.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would say it's not that messy inside. Actually, it's cleaner than you would think.
Okay, and he lives on his own?
Yeah, he lives on his own.
Okay, sure.
He's a bachelor.
Okay.
He's got a hermit crab.
Right.
The saddest pet.
Yeah, so we kind of zoom into Frank's apartment at night, in the darkness of night when you're asleep. And you are having a quite vivid dream of the last battle that you experienced in the last war.
Whoa.
Which is the Battle of Cairn Hill. It was the longest 4 days of your life. It was a battle between the nations of Thrain and Breland. You were involved in the war as a part of a mercenary group, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. House Thrashk kind of functioned as an intermediary to facilitate monstrous mercenary groups. So ogres, trolls, hobgoblins, sometimes harpies, that kind of thing. But their family members, actual members of the family like you, actual members of House Thrashk were designated as kind of leadership in some way and were leading these groups. So whether you were like a low-ranking kind of official or like at the top, that's up to you. Like if you were leading the whole group or if you were just kind of like the leader of a
I think I'm middle management.
Okay, sure. So this Battle of Cairn Hill was a time where your mercenary unit was fighting for Breland. And like I said, it took place over 4 days. It's like the first day was spent kind of in skirmishes, scoutings, and kind of volleys of archery, as well as some magical spells and wands. The next day began with arcane fire being spread on the enemy lines. At this point, it's kind of like trenches, in most part, hunkering down, and perhaps this is where Frank spent a lot of time with the crossbow.
Yeah.
Kind of trying to pepper the enemy units.
Yeah, definitely.
A large portion of some of Breland's supplementary forces were goblins from Dargul. They acquit themselves pretty admirably at first, pressing the Thrain lines, but they're kind of temperamental, and they're often very concerned with looting the bodies and creating what they call a baggage train, to where they kind of sequester and pass along loot down the line to a horde in the middle of battle.
Wow.
How do you think that Frank kind of comports himself in this position in a battle like this? He is in charge of some of these monstrous races, and as well as functioning within the larger section of a very large army.
Yeah, I think this is a younger Frank. And I think that he...
Right. This was probably like 15 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. I think that he's doing a lot of yelling. It's not very... he's not ready for the scenario. It's hard for him not to just go in and do it himself. And leading others is not natural to him. And he's also a bit hot-headed in his youth, so it's like, get out of my way, or you're not doing it right. And he's not going to try and talk to them or see their side. He's going to yell, and he's going to use his physicality to get his point across. Okay,
so do you think that he does like take over and take someone's spot to like actually fight?
I think that if they are falling back or something of that nature,
like perhaps some of the goblins are distracted by looting the bodies.
Yeah, I think he's like running in there and throwing them off the bodies and being like, "Get back in there," slapping them around a bit.
Sure. Yeah. Another famous feature of this battle was the use of a floating fortress named Kirdis. Breland's premier floating fortress that's built by House Cannith. on the third day, a piloting error causes the floating fortress to fall and crash into the battlefield. That day, the Braillish forces sustain huge losses, and that night, when the fighting has died down, a lot of the goblin forces are talking about running, and they come to you, and they come to your unit as part of the other kind of monstrous mercenaries in the group, and tell you that we're leaving. This is a lost cause. We're all gonna die. What does Frank do in that situation? Because he's got men beneath him, some other orcs, some like I said, trolls, ogres.
I'm gonna pick up the goblin by his lapels. I'm gonna say, "You took an oath, same as everyone else."
Okay.
You think you could just leave when it gets tough? It's war. Everything is tough. Can't even take a leak without getting shot at. Now you want to leave? There's lots of bodies out there. I know that's what you care about.
Go ahead and roll to manipulate someone. It's kind of in this public display. You know, everyone's kind of gathered around in the tents at night or something like that. Yeah. That can afford to, and so.
Yeah, that's a 10.
Wow. Okay.
For once, I'm charming. Well, not really charming.
Yeah. So Frank is able to successfully convince the Dargoon goblins that they should stay, and that united we stand, and that they should stick it out to the end.
Nice.
So they stay with you, and on the fourth day, the Braillish forces fight admirably, but by noon, Braillish command realizes that they have insufficient forces to exploit or address any weaknesses, and the order is given for both the Braillish, Dargoon forces, and all mercenary forces to withdraw. The Thrain forces actually decline to follow, in a kind of gesture that in the future is seen as a gesture of immense goodwill and generosity. Supposedly it's been ordered by the Keeper of Thrain themselves. Basically, the Emperor of Thrain themselves ordered the forces not to pursue.
So they weren't just tired. This isn't a Union Army, the whole Lincoln. They had him in the palm of his hand. All he had to do was close it.
The popular story is that the Keeper ordered them not to pursue, but on the ground it was considered that the Thrain forces also potentially took too many hits to properly pursue.
Yeah.
So that's your dream. Memories of the war in the past.
Not overly pleasant.
No. But ultimately, it was probably a pretty important moment and decision in Frank's life. You convinced those goblins to stay and to fight, and were somewhat of a leader.
Yeah. I think it would explain too, and that they end up retreating anyways. It kind of wouldn't call Frank a broken man per se, but I would say he's a tired man.
I thought the war really mellowed you out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's tired. He used to have this burning
Yeah. I mean, he took leadership in that point, and then the fourth day, a lot of them probably died. Still.
A lot of them died, and then we just left. It was for nothing. So I think it's
he
had a lot of anger. It gets directed at something. It falls apart, and now he's kind of just, trying to keep on keeping on.
So you come you come to and wake up just in the morning the next day. Is there any ideas that you have about what Frank does in the morning? Does he have any routine?
Yeah, he rolls out of bed, goes to make some coffee. It's probably out of filters, so he has to find one and reuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes some coffee, gets an egg going.
It's just a single egg.
Well, it's just one giant egg. It's a fantasy egg.
Yeah, it's a velociraptor egg or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of just
okay, sure.
Groggy.
Yeah. Does he have a closet full of green coats, or is it just one green coat?
Yeah. He just opens his closet and there's just one coat on a hanger, and the pants are on the ground of the closet.
The bachelor life.
Yeah. Yeah. Gets dressed, goes out of the building, and I think he leaves a little of his eggs, and he brings it out and he puts it out for stray cats.
Oh,
Frank's
yeah,
it's a little thing.
Nice. I will say that there's like actually like a cat waiting there.
Nice.
Like he does this every day, so like the cat knows and just kind of waits there in the morning.
Yeah.
Is this
I scratch the top of his head and go, "Hey, Perot, how you doing?"
Cool. So today you also have been called on by an old friend to come visit them. This old friend's name is Harash.
Rashi.
Yeah, an old friend, perhaps someone that you knew from the mercenary company days. He is a male Medusa. So Medusa is a full species in Eberron that exists in I believe Droam and some of them amongst some of the more monstrous races. They have their typical petrifying stuff, but Harash is kind of the second in command of the Dask in Sharn. And he has called you to meet him at a bar in Kyber's Gate, which is a low quarter district of the city.
All right. What is he? Does he wear a hat when he's not?
He does not.
Medusing.
He does not. It's very interesting how Medusas comport themselves.
I like to think he's got his snakes in like dreads.
That's what I was thinking, like the Rasta
dope.
hat.
Yes.
I was actually kind of thinking something like that also, but might not work out. But this isn't like a normal thing. Like you typically aren't asked to meet Harash, and you probably haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah.
What do you think that Frank's like relationship with the Dask and with those old like friends that he used to run with is? Like, to what extent are you like still involved with them, or not at all? Or
I think he's not like, angry with them. It's not like contentious, but I think that he used to have something to fight for, and he's kind of rudderless, is why he started the If It's Mysteries with Howland and stuff.
Right. It could be the kind of thing where like you were working together in the mercenary group, and when the war ended, they went this way, and then you went that way.
Yeah, I mean, we're not cops, but we are detectives, and we are ultimately on the side of the law.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you were approached by the Dask early on to kind of get on the take and kind of take their bribes.
Yeah, it could be living in a nicer apartment.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so Frank would have declined that then?
Yeah. Frank has a code of sorts.
He's got to have a code.
Not sure if it's even clear.
Every man needs a code.
Every man needs a code. Not sure if the code is even clear to Frank, but...
Right, it's there, but not quite sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah, like I don't think it's contentious or anything. I think it's kind of that thing where they aren't close.
Yeah, totally. Kyber's Gate is remember there's like the upper, middle, and lower sections of the tower. Kyber's Gate is below the lower. Even below everything in the crust of the earth itself is the Undercity, where sections like the cogs and where a lot of factories exist down there that utilize the actual natural heat of the earth below to power these factories and these enterprises. Kyber's Gate is a place of destitution and crime. And as you walk to this meeting place, there are some figures on the stairs, kind of climbing up, frozen in place, turned to stone. Goblins, halflings, humans, 3 or 4 different people in the process of either running down the stairs as fast as they can or nonchalantly walking up the stairs, just completely petrified to stone. And waiting for you at the safe house is Harash, as well as a couple of goblins milling around, and a harpy. They're all kind of sitting around talking to each other. A couple of goblins are playing cards, and Harash is just kind of sitting there, kind of like with this book open in front of him.
Well, I guess you wanted a quiet place to talk.
Yeah, as soon as you say that, like, kind of Harash's face is covered by the book, but kind of like see these numerous snakes kind of peek up from behind the book and kind of stare at you, and they follow you as you move into the room. And he kind of closes the book. And the way that Medusas kind of act in normal society, because even they themselves, if they were talking to one another, can be petrified.
Wow.
They are not immune to it. So how Medusa society works is that they avert their gaze, but depending on how they avert it, demonstrates some sort of code, sort of meaning. to say that if a Medusa averts her eyes downwards, it is to show respect. If they look above you, it is to show that they are in a higher position of authority, and likewise. And if they were to close their eyes and stare right at you, it would indicate trust. But Harash, he kind of like gazes to the side towards you. He kind of faces his head towards you, kind of gazes to the side, but the snakes still follow you all the time.
Yeah.
They still gain some sort, the Medusa still gains some sort of perception from the snakes, even if it is minor. So, and as you kind of walk in, and as Harash kind of notices you, and he's somewhat jovial about it, and he says, Frank, it's very nice to see you after so long, I must say.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. How are you doing?
Good. He kind of stands up and he goes to where there's this petrified person with their arms outstretched, and there's a cup in one of their hands, and kind of goes there and plucks the cup and sips from it, and he kind of walks across the room and kind of introduces you to a couple of the people in the room, and says, I have a question for you. Well, perhaps a couple of questions. You've been pretty active with your whole detective agency recently.
Well, got to keep the lights on.
Yes, we all have to find our own ways to do that. And Kavala has taken notice, and she and I and a couple of others are also aware that you had a little bit of a run-in with one of our strike forces the other night.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see, I needed the person the force was after in order to help solve a crime. I hope you don't mind taking away one of your kills, but we didn't hurt nobody, just got someone out of there.
No, that is perfectly fine. I actually meant to apologize for that. Of course, we never would have intended for you to get caught up in that. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, of course. To be honest, I don't think I'm important enough for that big of a strike force. So, I knew that they were really after Victor, but unfortunately for me, honestly, I needed Victor alive for the time being. Although most nights I wouldn't so much mind.
I would not downplay your importance in any way. I've seen what you've done over the past years, and you think that Harash was probably there that night on Cairn Hill, like many of your old friends in the desk probably were.
Well,
This is a weird vein we're hitting where Frank is like respected, and I'm not sure how to take it because nobody else we've come across is like respected him like that.
That's fair. No one else knew him back in the day.
Respect your elders.
With respect.
Yeah. No one else knew him back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're very sorry about that. We were operating under decent information that Victor was the Claw.
Clovis tip you off on that?
Not Clovis. No.
Well, yeah, I guess he would have spoken to the Boromir.
Yes.
Boromir.
You keep calling them the Boromir.
Yeah. It's
funny.
Yeah, sorry.
Because I think last after you like the Boromir clan.
Yeah, I know. I keep doing that.
It's the Gondor. No, that's fine. It's like, no, we'd been following it up on our own. It seems like everyone was kind of following up on their own leads, and everyone was close. But you are seemingly the only person to have come in contact with the Claw and lived.
Yeah, it was pretty touch and go there for a bit, but we made it out. And honestly, I thought we had the guy, but he did manage to get out of there. Let me tell you what, that claw, it's not just a claw. I guess no one else has been alive to explain this, but...
No, we had heard that it was a bear or a tiger or a wolf.
Were you also looking for poison tigers?
It was a theory that some of our lower-ranking members had that we thought about, but...
Lower ranking?
Never put too much stock
real.
in it.
I'm telling you, the poison tigers are real.
They're out there.
Yeah, it's the work of a changeling of sorts. In fact, it seems like just because we go back a ways, my current operating theory is that this particular changeling is trying to start animosity between the gangs,
between
the
us
families.
and the Boromir.
Yeah.
Well, they just might get it at this rate.
Seems that way, but some things you should let your people know if they are looking to tangle with the claw. It's not just a claw, like I said. You've heard the expression trick up your sleeve?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's a trick up his hand. It can do all sorts of things.
Okay.
So it can shoot fire, it can shoot grappling hooks, it can claw you. He can run on the ceiling. It's like a ninja mixed with a wizard mixed with I don't know, some sort of crime-fighting vigilante.
That is a very comprehensive assessment, I think. That is good to know. That type of, for lack of a better word, firepower or equipment is worrying.
Well, yeah, I haven't seen something like that since the war.
Yes. That seems like a custom job, that claw, and I'd be very curious as to who made it, let alone who paid for it.
Yeah. Not only the claw, his armor, it was, it was all-encompassing, but it didn't hinder his movement at all.
Yes.
Someone very talented.
Yes, seemingly very wealthy or having some sort of resources to pull on, which would be strange for just an individual rogue agent. I have trouble believing that the tyrants would ever force any move like this on us. They have been neutral for decades now.
That's true, but, they change with the wind.
Did you get any other information from the Claw? Anything that could help us find them, if they're still in the city?
Let me ask you something. You ever hear of a kilk?
He kind of pauses for a moment and kind of thinks, and he says, "I do know the name Kilk."
Yeah, what's it mean to you?
It means many things and many people. Kilk is a name used by the tyrants, a shared name, one of importance, shared among the higher-ranking members, perhaps even a full doppelganger, as well as a couple of other changelings. And the difference there is sizable. Kilk was involved, or...
my associate Halwyn, you remember Halwyn, he overheard the Claw speaking with some other individual, who unfortunately we did not ID. The name Kilk came up as long as these most recent killings at the point would force Kavala's hand.
Right, and just to clarify, the language was that the Claw was worried that Kilk would realize who they were. And then yes, that the actions would eventually force Kavala's hand. So it sounds like this is some sort of rogue agent then, or at least not a part of the tyrants.
Yeah, at least not sanctioned by the higher ups in the tyrants.
Yes,
but probably. Well, I don't know. Do you know any changelings with access to that kind of weaponry that aren't in the tyrants?
No, this what it sounds like is not simple artificer work. This is serious stuff. So I am going to put some resources into investigating both the tyrants and what they know, and which can be difficult to pin down who they are and what they know at any given time. But I think it might also be worth looking into House Kenneth. They most likely have the knowledge and the means to construct a weapon like that. And if the tyrants are working with a dragon-marked house, or the dragon-marked house have peeled off an agent of the tyrants, then that is serious stuff, and very well could light the whole city on fire in a gang war.
Very true. Very true.
But I don't mean to bring down our reunion too much. Would you like to stay and have a drink?
Yeah, I can have a drink, but listen, I've been pretty helpful to you tonight, wouldn't you say?
You have, certainly.
How about we make sure that these statues make it home in one piece, huh?
The statues? Well, really, Frank?
I mean, it's a lot. You gotta be...
He's a big softy.
You gotta meet me halfway here. I mean, I walk into a bar and you've turned all of the patrons into stone. I mean, I appreciate the privacy, but
these weren't recent acquisitions. I promise you. This is a place that we in the Dask hold.
Okay.
So one of them might still be fresh enough to let go, but you don't want to see what happens when they're not.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I assumed it was. I haven't met you at this particular bar, and I thought it was maybe kind of. No. I mean, it was very impressive. So
that's all right. I meet many people here when I am unsure of the outcome of the meeting.
Yeah, what do you mean unsure? What do you think I'm going to do?
I don't know. I was just unsure.
Well, you don't have to be unsure about Frank.
You are reliable. Come have a drink, and if you require anything else from me besides freeing some of those trapped here, I'd be happy to hear you out.
All right, well, I'll keep that in mind. I've always been one of the more decent fellows I know in this line of work.
Well, I don't know of anyone else that would accuse me of such a thing.